Hi, everyone. It's my absolute joy and honor to be speaking with Jason Shurka today. I'm going to introduce him properly in just one moment, but because we're going to be talking about a new healing technology called EE technology, and this is very exciting. I just want to say I've got no affiliation to this, no commission. I'm just really sharing information that Jason is also promoting across the world to help our health, which is really exciting. Over the last 3 weeks, as many of you know, I've received an immense number of emails about many different healing technologies. I've experienced some of them: harmonic egg, Iteracare wand, which I have myself, many, too numerous to mention. But I think the other thing is just what's hit me over the last 3 weeks is the power of humanity when we come together. The power of humanity to send love, to send healing is miraculous. You know, it's really demonstrated to me how incredible that is and how fast it can work. So, you know, again, a million thank yous for that. And what Jason is going to be talking about today is really reflecting the way that medicine is moving. It's away from drugs and chemicals and surgery, back into, I want to say, back into energy, light, sound, frequency. Think of the two jaggedy lines of Aquarius, Pluto moving into Aquarius in March. We are remembering some of the technologies that the ancient peoples like the Lemurians and the Atlanteans and the ancient Egyptians used. So that's also very exciting. I also want to say this is a kind of one-off favor for Jason, because we've connected before. He interviewed me on his Unified TV channel a couple of months ago. And so many people write to me and say, please interview me on my particular healing modality. I would love to, but I'm only one small person running an astrology channel. And that's what you guys follow me for, you know, my astrological knowledge. So if I learn not to sleep, I may be able to do that. But there are other great people out there running a general spiritual channel who are doing awesome things doing that. So sadly, I want to keep it very much to astrology. So that's why this is a special one-off favor to Jason Shurka, who is doing amazing things in the world. You know, I have to compliment you, Jason, because you are kind of jet propelled. You know, it's just meteoric, the amount of information and what you've been able to build in such a short time at such a young age. I mean, you have unified.com, a censorship-free social media channel, which I'm part of and is fabulous. You've got Unified TV. Now you're getting very involved in this healing technology, and that you're just unstoppable. I mean, you really are one of the leaders of our time, and it's so generously given. It's truly humanitarian. So I really want to thank you from humanity for what you're doing in the world, because I know you're giving a lot away for free, including something you've just been sharing with me about this EE technology. So I saw your interview with Dr. Sandra Rose. So do you want to take it from there and explain to us all the technology and how it's helping people?
What a beautiful, beautiful introduction, Pam. I know that the first time we spoke, we've only done one, thing together formally, publicly. And from there was just an amazing click. And I just want to say thank you so much for, doing this and helping me bring this, because you're not just helping me, really. I'm just a facilitator. You're helping a lot of people through raising this awareness to bring this technology to as many people as possible around the world. And tens of thousands already just over the past few months, I've been hearing incredible stories from. So I could share some of that, but I'll backtrack real quick just to give some, background information so people understand. Number one, what is this box with a bunch of static colors moving behind me? Because this is what it is that we're talking about over here, the Energy Enhancement System. To make it clear, I have no stake in the company whatsoever. I don't own the company whatsoever. I simply work with the inventor and her family. It is a family-run business. The Energy Enhancement System team is who they are. And I was only introduced to them about 6 months ago. And some very interesting people really encouraged me to go and interview this woman, Dr. Michael. And at the time, and I still am overwhelmed with a lot of work, and I'm doing my best to keep up with everything that's going on. And my first answer when they encouraged me and they said, go to Las Vegas and interview this amazing, incredible woman, which she is, by the way, but I didn't know her at the time. My answer was, I'm really tired. Maybe next month, maybe next month. And just an interesting series of events started occurring. And my family came in contact with this technology because my aunt, and this is public information, she had a 12.5 centimeter cystic fibroid in her uterus. And before they were going to go to surgery route and all this, crazy stuff, we're like, what do we have to lose? Let's go see what happens. She did that. A few hours later, it's gone. We're like, well, wait a second, what's going on here? And I automatically, in a healthy way, come with skepticism. I need you to show me what's going on before I accept, even if I want to accept something to be true. A few days later, my sister's dog has a lymphatic cyst. He's only 7 pounds. He has a cyst in his neck, about 4 centimeters, about 2 inches, big for a dog that small. We put him in a unit for 3 nights. He slept in a unit for about 30 hours, gone. And then I said, well, wait a second. At first, we could have said placebo, something this, but now we're dealing with dogs here. He doesn't know what the energy enhancement system is. Perhaps he's connected to what this field is, and that's a whole different story on a different level of consciousness and awareness. But we're now seeing it happen to humans and dogs. And I said, okay, I need to see more of this. Maybe, just it's too good to be true, and it's just happening to my family. So I started doing more research. I started inquiring a little bit further, and I started seeing these stories with, miracles. And it started becoming where miracles were no longer miracles, they were the norm. And I said, okay, then I need to do something over here to bring this to as many people as possible. So I accepted to do the interview. I was sent to Las Vegas to go interview Dr. Michael. First time I met her. And it was really, nothing big was planned. It was just, I'm going to go interview her. I'm going to go do this thing, do my one-off interview to raise awareness for this technology to help whoever will be helped along the way and move on. I do that interview. It was about an hour. I edited it that same day, put it out a few days later. It came out on May 27th. I believe it was a Wednesday. Now, don't ask me how and what happened, because I don't know, but it reached the world to a point where Sandra and her team received over 70,000 emails that weekend. It was something that was unprecedented. They weren't prepared. They're like, did you know this was going to happen? I'm like, listen, the people that sent me, they know what they're doing. I didn't know that it was going to be this big, but it's obviously this big for a reason. So let's move forward with this. People obviously need this. I was sent to you guys for a reason. Let's propel this. 2 days later, I'm sitting at dinner with my family, and I have this download. I don't know where it came from. And the download was, number one, the call to action in an interview was, anybody who's watching this, bring this technology to a center publicly, because the problem was it's expensive technology, so not everybody can afford it to bring it into their homes. So my solution that I was trying to find was, how do we bring this technology, which I'll explain how it works in just a second, how do we bring this technology in a way that will be accessible and affordable to all? And the solution was, well, you get the people that can afford it to purchase it. You have them open it to everybody publicly. And because they still need to, operate and run their operation, you charge a fee, but you keep it at a fee that's affordable for everybody. So I said, how am I going to hold people accountable and raise awareness for all these centers that want to open around the world? And that's where Unified Healing came from. So unifiedhealing.com, spelled UNIFYD healing.com, is a network that came to me literally in 1 second through a download at dinner. Somebody said something and I saw the whole thing. And I understood that I already have the platform. I have the user base. We have traffic from all around the world. What's a good way to use that platform? Let's use that platform and this user base and the awareness and the eyeballs that we already have and direct them to this technology that we know can help people because of what we've been seeing. So I put this network together, and there were certain requirements. One being, if you're going to be a part of the Unified Healing Network, you cannot charge more than $60 USD per person per hour. And I did that on purpose, because the bigger things get, you know what happens. People will be people. Some people will take advantage, and we've seen it happen everywhere. So we said, no, we're going to stop that and prevent it before that corrupt consciousness even begins, because it's not allowed to happen in the first place if you're on this network. And to be on this network, it means you're having awareness for your center. You're getting that marketing in a way for your center also to bring more attention to help them operate and expand as well, because we want them to be successful so they can expand. So the idea was, if we're going to do this, and if we're going to work with you and you're going to work with us as the Unified Healing affiliated center, you cannot charge more than 60 USD per person per hour, keeping it as accessible and affordable as possible. And then we encourage people, go and give it to free for veterans, do free days whenever you can for people in need. And now, I mean, tons of people are doing it. So when we started 6 months ago, June 1st, pretty much, we had 0 centers on the network, and there were only about 18 centers around the world from EE system as a whole that people opened, kind of like in Australia, New Jersey, and New York, and things like that. In 6 months, as of this moment, December 14th, we're at 131 centers on the network, with over 100 people on a wait list that we're trying to work with to make it happen as well in terms of locations.
That's incredible. And there's a location map on the website. So
the location map is on the website. You'll be able to find everything and everybody regarding whoever is on the Unified Healing Network, and the size of their units, what do they offer, all of that. Now, there's something really important that I want to explain, and then I'll go and explain how this technology works, because that's very important. The beautiful thing over here is, again, Unified Healing, I created it as a humanitarian initiative. I wanted to use it to build funds to be able to take those funds and purchase more technology, bring more of this technology to places that can't afford it no matter what. Places like India, certain places in Africa, things like that, they're probably not going to get a center in certain countries. And even if they did, nobody in those places will be able to afford it. So the idea over here is, through this network, what we do through Unified Healing is there's a fee for these centers to work with us. We use those fees and we put it right back into, number one, bring more awareness for these people, like, marketing, and there's a whole way to do that. And I have a team for that one that we built overnight, very, very quickly. But most importantly, we use the funds to bring this technology to places that can't afford it. So I thought it was going to take a few years to get to that point of having enough centers that will generate enough revenue to be able to do these donations around the world. But I was wrong. In a short few months, because of the level that it grew to, in February, I'm actually flying out to India with Dr. Michael and an entire film crew to film a documentary of this experience.
Wow.
We're donating a 24-unit system to an ashram in India in a city called Tirupati. It's also on the map. There's a big free pin on the map in India that you'll see with all the information. And that's going to be open to everybody in the country for free. You don't have to book a session. It's none of that. It's just a very big room that anybody can walk into with absolutely no conditions and no discrimination, no matter who you are and where you come from, to go and experience that. And this is the beginning of that vision of what this humanitarian initiative is doing in the first place. And to make it very clear, this is thanks to the centers that are on this network, because they're the ones that are making this possible. Those people that stepped up to open these centers and take that leap of faith are now, responsible for bringing this around the world. And of course, the people going to visit those centers are helping them be able to do that as well. So you mentioned the Aquarian age before we got on this call, and the toroidal field, that's how I see everything. Nobody has to lose in the systems that we're building moving forward. It's everybody is benefiting and everybody is winning simultaneously. And that's what the model of Unified Healing is based on, where it's not at the loss of somebody or something. If anybody could lose in the future, it's the corrupt organizations and the corrupt industries that may fall, because they're built on corruption in the first place. But that truth of us healing ourselves it's really the only thing that is permanent, and it's the only thing that we're going to remain with moving forward in this new age.
That is immensely exciting, Jason. And I just love the humanitarian nature, because that's very Aquarian too. And particularly that that people can access this incredible healing technology in Africa, in India for free. You know, that is just a beautiful gift to humanity. And I really thank you, because we're moving into a much more heart-centered age as well. We're moving away from
100%.
profit and all about people, and everything being based on the heart and love. So, you know, I just congratulate you on having that amount of vision for where you're going with this business model. It's just beautiful, but it's so in line with where the astrology is going to. So
it's all in alignment with those same principles of, I know people call it new earth, but it's really not new, because it's where we've been, it's where we come from, it's the source that we originate from. So like you said, it's returning back to ourselves, you know, it's returning back to our health. And that's really how this works. So for anybody that's looking at this and saying, well, how does lights on a screen that are moving do anything? Well, when you start reframing a perspective, as opposed to looking at it as just light or just movement on a screen, and understanding that light and color is actually a spectrum of frequency. When you use energy, frequency, and vibration, as Nikola Tesla said, you know, years and years ago, using energy, frequency, and vibration is the source of it all. And if you can play on those dimensions, you can fix everything. You can actually access the so-called secrets of the universe. They're no longer secrets when you understand the source code that everything is built on. So the idea of this technology and the way that it works, and I'm going to make it super simple. Dr. Michael uses her very high IQ to use very big words to explain all of this, and I love her for it. But I do my best to simplify what she says to explain it to everybody. Is this is using scalar technology to create a toroidal field through this algorithmic code, if you want to call it, that's being conveyed and you know, expressed through this screen. That's how it's being pushed out. It's creating a toroidal field that when you sit in a field and an environment that's harmonious with no obstacles or obstructions, your body can catalyze the process of doing what it always does, which is heal itself. So your body's always trying to be in a state of homeostasis. Your body's always trying to fix itself. That's why when you get a cut, it scabs, not because you tell it to, because that's what the body's always trying to do. Now, when you're in an environment of toxins and pollution and obstructions and things like that, non-harmonious, well, you're going to have a problem, because your body's going to slow down the process of doing what it's trying to do. So it's not this technology that's healing you. It's you that's healing you. It's this technology that's helping create the environment for you to heal yourself. And in that way, this is not an end goal. This is a stepping stone to that Aquarian age. And the Aquarian age, in my opinion, is an age where we heal ourselves. We have the power to do everything that this does. But right now in the world that we're in, we do need some assistance and steps along the way to get to that point once again. And that's not to externalize your power. That's to remember and return to your power. And I've seen anywhere, I mean, from the craziest ailments with death sentences. And I can't make medical claims here, so I don't want anybody to take it as one. But based on testimonials and observations that I've seen myself and experiences that I've seen myself and had myself, terminal ailments have been reversed in a very short period of time after sleeping in a system like this without any invasive surgery or anything like that. And that's just what people share. You know, there was one guy that told me the other day, he had an 8 centimeter, I think it was some sort of like tumor or something in his neck and his thyroid, whatever it was. He slept in it for 11 and a half hours overnight, went back to the doctor, took a scan, it was gone. And it's these miracles that, again, I say them and it sounds too good to be true. But when you hear them from thousands and thousands of people with common themes happening over time, we call that data. We call that no longer a coincidence. That is something that is working over and over and over again. So that's the reason why I stand behind it, and I'm so passionate about it, because I do really believe in my heart that this is a stepping stone to bring us to that next level.
Yeah, I love all that, Jason. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have witnessed many, many miracles in my time through actually being on Dr. Joe Dispenza workshops, people taken into deep meditation for 3 to 4 hours. And, you know, it just stuff disappears, stuff happens. But you are making the effort then to have the mastery of deep meditation and hold really that level of coherence, because what we're talking about is creating coherence. What this technology does is make it easy, because it is meditating you, if you like.
Yes,
To
yes.
create, to create that coherence in your system. And we know the more coherent your emotion is, if you're in love, joy, peace, gratitude, you have a much bigger, more coherent toroidal field, and that lends itself to great health. And what I love about this, I think we're on the brink of discovering that everything is toroidal in nature.
Yes.
The earth has a toroidal field. I was talking to David Farad, the quantum plant alchemist, a couple of days ago, and saying, I actually believe that, we have this whole idea that the fractality of the universe, that universes are connected through the center of their toroidal fields, almost like a series of bobbins, if you like. But once we can remember this coherence, which is what that the EE technology is doing for us, things can happen in moments, in a trice. And I really love what you say about currently this is an external technology, but actually Pluto moving through Aquarius, which it will do till 2044 for many of us the rest of our lives, will enable us to develop an inner spiritual technology. And I love that, because that's where we're headed. Ultimately, we won't need the computers, the iPads, the mobile, but we are developing an inner spiritual technology. And it's part of our spiritual mastery that we are moving towards, that again, we had as ancient peoples, again, we are remembering. So, I just love this. I just love its accessibility as well. I think being in the UK, I think one centre is opening up in London as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And he's already, he hasn't even opened yet. And the line is crazy. It's unbelievable. So we see that and we're like, let's open more, because we need this in as many places as possible, as fast as possible, because that's how they, and I'll keep it vague, can't stop what's coming. Right? Because when we have so much power in unity in this way, with the level of growth and expansion that it's happening at, it makes it a whole lot harder to take anything like that down. It's almost like when you go to piranhas, for example. Piranhas work in groups. They're small fish, they're not big, but they could take on a whale. And they take on a whale because they come and create their own whale in unity. So a lot of people look at these, bigger organizations and things that are going on in the world right now, and they say, no, we're only one person. We can't do anything to transcend that. We can't do anything to beat that. And that's false. Of course we can. Unified Healing and that network, by the way, is the perfect example of that. You now see, instead of 100 centers that are individualized and just their own, which they are their own individual pieces, in and of themselves, we're also this army of light that's coming together to make this change. And now when you're an army, I want to see that to try to be taken down. It's very hard. You're dealing with a huge amount, forget just the amount of physical people. You're dealing with a large amount of energy that, in my opinion, completely trumps the darker energies out there today. And it's inevitable for us to get to this point, like you said, of internal healing, because that's what it is. It also works on energy, frequency, and vibration. The only difference is we start to consciously create that, as opposed to need other things to assist us to create that. And that's what Dr. Michael speaks about. There's actually research, by the way, on her website on eesystem.com that shows how, with actual studies, they've shown that you can get to the same level of deep meditation as a monk in about 7 or 8 minutes in front of, I forgot which size of a system they've done. This is just 2 cubes, so this is the smaller size. There are some centers that have 12 units and towers, 24 units with six monitors on top of each other in every single corner of the room, calibrated perfectly so the photons actually collide and create that toroidal field. So it's unbelievable. And the science, by the way, is also explained in that original interview with Dr. Michael that I did in Vegas. I could send you that link if you'd like to share that as well for anybody who wants to check that out and see what it's all about.
Yeah, I love what you were saying, Jason, because again, you're speaking astrologically, although you probably don't
I
realize
don't
it.
even know that I'm speaking astrologically.
No, because Pluto is the planet of power, and I've spoken about this many times recently. Pluto is the planet of power, and it's in the process of moving out of the end of Capricorn, which is top-down structures, governments, corporations, institutions that are very, unequal, elitist, into Aquarius, starting in March, which is grassroots up, it's local community, it's collaboration, it's a grid of light across the world. So it's people coming together, contributing their unique gifts, but all coming together in a whole globally to really take their power back in a very spiritual way, a very coherent way, a very non-violent way, to say, no, we are remembering who we are as humanity, and we are going to create a way better world than this, that's going to be loving, healing, compassionate, etc. So that there's a massive power shift. And if you look at the astrology, all of the life force, all of the energy in the astrology is moving towards that Aquarian energy and away from the top-down structures. They're just going to crumble behind us like a film set. They're doing that already. And that's what's so exciting. And that will accelerate as we get into next year, and even more in 2024 and beyond. So, you're ahead of the game, as it were. Yet again, you're a pioneer in introducing
I'm
things.
known for being a pioneer.
Absolutely. You're ahead of the game. You're a kind of John the Baptist, because you're sensing that energy in the field of what I see so clearly astrologically.
Very interesting. On that note, with how you're speaking about top down, the elitist structures, and now grassroots from the bottom building, there's a big conversation that many are having about the need to decentralize right now. And I just want to touch up on that, because I think that conversation is great, but we're not getting it. Stopped somewhere prematurely that I want to continue it and just plant a seed here. So I believe that right now, and I think it's very apparent, we have a world that's trying, for not great intention, trying to come together and bring everything under one control tower, centralized, but with a corrupted, I would say even cancerous consciousness. And when you have that to work in a united body, when you have, a cancer there consciously, is a problem, because that cancer will spread. So we do need to decentralize and get rid of that ultimately. But I don't think it ends at decentralization. I think we need to decentralize, correct the issue on the level of consciousness and awareness, and then re-centralize. Because I don't see a problem with unity. I see a problem with unity when there's a cancerous consciousness moving through that unity. Then you got a problem, right? Because then you got a really sick body. But in an enlightened world, in a world of an Aquarian world, if you want to call it, this age of love where people are truly living in harmony, then of course you'd want to live as one. Of course you'd want to be as one, because you're not going to have those corrupted forces that are taking advantage of that. So I really just want to plant that seed to not just stop at decentralization, because again, ultimately, take unified healing, for example. It's coming from a good place with a different perspective and a different consciousness. And we do have a network that's completely united. And that's why we're able to do what we're doing, because we're united, and we have almost this like centralized like tower almost that everybody's a part of, where everybody has a voice and everybody can speak, but we're organized in that way. The only reason why it can happen the way that it's happening is because that corrupted consciousness is not a part of this system. And I think if we can take this model and expand that, spiritually speaking, in this model, and expand that to the rest of the world, I believe in, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Pam. I believe that this Aquarian age is a time where, not in the globalist way, but why do we need a passport to go from one place of Earth to another? Why do we need a border that's arbitrary telling me that, you can't go here on the same planet that you live on? To me, that's primitive, but at this point in time, if we were to get rid of borders, we'd have a problem, because we're not yet, I think, spiritually mature enough to not let that corrupted consciousness spread. So anyways, I wanted to share that. I'd love to hear your thoughts also on this, astrological side of how that plays into what you know, because I think it's a very important conversation to have to get to that point.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Jason, what you're talking about. I think anything that is not of love will fall away. Anything that is not of love will crumble, because we're going to go through another big jump in consciousness at this solstice, next week. Another big jump in consciousness next March, and the world is going to start to change radically, because the energy is so different. The energy is so much more loving, so high frequency. I mean, we have never moved through such an intense photon belt for about 12,000 years. That's I think this is the biggest jump for humanity in terms of its evolution that we have ever had. Borders will most certainly dissolve in the coming years, absolutely, because we will remember that we are galactic citizens. Yeah. And the more we become reconnected to the galactics, these ridiculous borders between countries, it will just seem crazy and laughable, because we will be one humanity reconnecting to our galactic heritage. And we will remember that. And that galactic contact is happening already. It's going to get stronger in 23, much stronger in 24, and ongoing. And these crazy, contracted divisions and separations is very Capricornian. It's very Saturnian. That's exactly what we are moving away from. We are a common humanity, and that's very Aquarian as well. So, that is so exciting. We are right on the edge of that galactic citizenry that we're bringing back in, right on the edge of it. And it's thrilling. You look up to the stars, look up to the sky, and step back into that sense of expanded consciousness, particularly at this solstice. If you can really set a clear intention that you're welcoming in this expanded consciousness of love, much will come to you at this solstice and beyond. So yeah, I love, it's so funny, because you don't know the astrology, but you're speaking it, and that's what's very exciting, because it
shows how connected we are in general to things we don't even know, but it's you're in the system. Absolutely.
But you're living it, and you're putting it into practice in such a beautiful, heart-centered way. But it's almost like, if you had a vision of this new earth, or whatever you want to call it, this loving new it's a frequency, it's not a place that we're creating. That's where the energy is going. That's where the life force is going. And the old stuff is just fraying and crumbling and disintegrating on the outside. So we don't have to give that any attention. It's just a force of energy that if you've got, this is a law of physics, as you know, that if you've got very high frequency energy coming in, the low frequency energy cannot continue to exist, because you can't have two very different levels of energy in the same place at the same time. It's called downward causation. The high frequency energy is much more influential on the lower than the other way around. And so we're in it. We're in this very accelerated process of evolution, which is going to get super speedy, I think, from the solstice onwards, and bring it on. We're going to have to really get our skates on to keep up with it. I think it's just fabulous.
Pam, you are the best word. You're a badass. That's what you are. No, you really are. You and Dr. Christiane Northrup are two people that number one, in your own right, are very, you've created something beautiful in this world. And I see you guys in very much of the same way, in an individual way, but a lot of the same energy in terms of the power you guys bring. And you're in it, and you came here to do this, and you will continue doing this. And that's what keeps me going, because I'm like, I'm in my 20s. Who am I to be tired right now? I can't. We don't have time for that. If you're doing it, I got to be doing it, as strong as I possibly can, because now's the time to do it, to inspire everybody else. This isn't about, and I think this also goes to what you were saying, this isn't about looking up in some hierarchy of following somebody. It's let's listen to what we all have to say, and then find that power within ourselves. If you look up to somebody, like I look up to you in a way of, she has so many gifts. And just by this conversation, just by this exchange, because it's more of an admiration that I have for you, really, I'm telling you the truth. I have so much respect for you, and through that, I feel that those gifts are also able to be transferred and now received. Because when you're acting in a place of admiration, you have a flow that can move. On the other hand, if you're acting out of a place of jealousy and envy, you block, so you cannot, not only is it creating a problem, but you also can't receive the gifts from the individual that you're looking up to because of that frequency, as we should say, of jealousy and envy. And I really do have an enormous amount of admiration and gratitude to you. And I want to say Dr. Northrup, I know she's not here right now, but you guys are two women that I really, you guys have done incredible things in this world. And you specifically are just astrologically opening people's eyes to a lot of things that were crazy a few years ago, and people are starting to pay attention to things differently and see things differently. And the fact that you're even using your platform in the way that you are is something that, it's just amazing to see. And I'm grateful. So I want to say
bless you, Jason. No, I thank you. That's very heartfelt, and I'm very touched by that. And thank you so much. We are all beings who are meant to be here at this time on this mission, doing this thing. We absolutely, I know that, that. We absolutely are born for this time. And I love what you were saying earlier, and just to build on it, that leaders in the future going forward are not going to be the old greybeards. That's very Capricornian. They're not going to be those, I am telling you in an autocratic way what to do. They're going to be people like you. They're going to be pioneers, visionaries, progressives, innovators, and people will gather around, just as you're doing with unified.com, unified TV, they will gather around those people because they're excited about those projects, those ideas, whatever, and that the team, as it were, will carry them forward. And that's reflecting the business models that you are currently building. That's Aquarian energy. It isn't one guy from the top.
Exactly. And that's so important. Even in religion, there are still people in the paradigm, and I don't mean to offend anybody whatsoever, wherever anybody is in their path and, journey right now. Whoever you look up to, whether it's Jesus, Moses, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever it is, those leaders are intended to show you what you can do as well. Yeah. Because we all come from the same place. It's not to say, oh, okay, I'm going to give you all my power because you are better and greater. They may have done amazing, incredible things, which they all have, but they come from the same spark of life that we all come from. And their ability is to show you your ability, not so you could say, we need that individual now. It's to show the capability of what we are all capable of and find that power within. And even Jesus, he said, I am your Lord and Savior, but he also said, I am me and you are you. So if I am me and you are you, the definition of I changes. And if we go back to I am your Lord and Savior, and I am me and you are you, then you're your Lord and Savior too. And that's the world that we have to start moving into. They're more than just religious leaders. We're talking spiritual leaders. That's why they were taken down. Jesus was taken out because people in power didn't like him. And people in power didn't like him because he was waking people up to their power.
Absolutely.
It's not to externalize, just like with this technology, not to externalize power. It's to show you what you're capable of so we could tap into our own power. And that goes to great leaders out there, great technologies out there. We are capable of everything. There's nothing that you can't do. The question is, how do we do it? And now we're going through that process of, not learning, it's really remembering. We've been there. We've forgotten that history. It's history that's been erased, and we are rewriting that history in our present moment. We're living in biblical times. It's unbelievable, and you're the first one to know that with everything going on with the Pluto returns and the Saturn returns and everything that you bring up. And it's so fascinating, but it shows us that we are literally living in biblical times. And there are going to be falls of empires, like you said, with the alignment of certain cosmos and the way that they're moving right now over the next few years. And there will be the rise of a new consciousness, of a new era. Call it whatever you want, but we're moving that way. And we're seeing it every day. The fact that you have the following you have, Pam, is the greatest indication that we're doing something right. Because there are people that are interested, which shows that change and awareness and consciousness. It's demand shows where we're at consciously, and people like your stuff for a reason.
Yeah, bless you for that, Jason. I just do my, we all just do our thing, don't we?
I know, but you're doing great work.
But it's interesting, a few months ago, something just came into my head when I was doing an update video of the light is the game changer and love is the checkmate. The light is the game changer and love is the checkmate. And love is always the checkmate because it's the highest vibration. Healing operates on love because it produces coherence. And if we can stay in a state of love, we will always be on the highest timeline. And that truly is the checkmate for anything that's happening now, because people who are not operating from service to others can't feel that love. So it's always the checkmate. And I think if we keep that in mind with whatever we're doing in our work, in our various different ways, that's a really good guide for us. It's a kind of love beacon, if you like.
I do. It's amazing. Dr. Michael speaks a lot about that in terms of how the frequency, the energy of love is a part of how she created this, for example. It's all there because, as you say, it's a frequency. You understand it on those terms. You can build incredible things. You can create incredible things because you're understanding it from the foundational, fundamental level. So it's just exciting times, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be a part of this in the way that I am. I'm excited to go to India to do this install with the 24-unit system. I think it's gonna. I don't think I know it's going to be the first of many all around the world in places that really need it, and I do believe that this is going to expand at, beyond the speed of light, which is what scalar technology works on, by the way, non-Hertzian frequency beyond the spectrum of that which is beyond the speed of light. And we're seeing it reflected in the expansion of this mission, the expansion of this initiative, and just the amount of centers that are opening in almost every state around the United States and many countries around the world today.
Wow, I just think we are going into a revolution of better understanding of plasma physics, genetics, the cosmic, the whole thing. We're moving into a paradigm shattering time. But, I really want to thank you, Jason, at your very young age, of, how you are just galvanizing this new earth with all that you're doing to help humanity, and in the many different projects and areas of healing that you're involved in. Just thank you. From also I sense from all the people going to be watching this video that can benefit from this healing technology. So anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
Just as I always say, number one, divided we fall, united we fly. It's extremely true. We have to stick together. We cannot afford division within ourselves and our communities right now. It's not the time for that. We don't need that right now. We have to stick together. It doesn't mean we all have to agree on everything. But if we're all on at least the same trajectory, doesn't mean we all share the same beliefs. Stick together, respect each other. And let's continue in whatever initiative it is that you're propelling or you're bringing to the table. Make sure to remember that it's bigger than yourself. It's bigger than you as your identity. You didn't come here to be your identity. You came here as a vessel to do something bigger for what connects us all, which is, like you said, Pam, that light. So let's connect through that light. Let's remain interconnected. Do our best to not let the, as these initiatives and movements continue, if you want to even call it that, ego is a part of it because we're human beings, and it doesn't mean we don't have one, because we all do. Just do your best to make sure that whenever it comes up, which it will, kind of move it out of the way and keep moving. Whenever it comes up again, keep moving it out. And if you're ever going to operate out of ego, make sure that the desire of the ego is aligned with the desire of the soul. If the desire of the ego is aligned with the desire of the soul, the ego is what helps you operate in this physical world. So that's going to be what pushes you to build and create and, do X, Y, and Z. When it's not aligned with the desire of the soul, that's when you can get corrupted and have problems. When it is aligned with the desire and the will of the soul, now you're having something that nothing is ever going to be able to stop, because you got your physical you got your spirit and light and energy body. When those are aligned, whole, and coherent, you become literally superhuman. So I would highly encourage you to always ask yourself, anybody who's watching this, is my will in the body, ego, aligned with my will of my soul, with my desire of my soul, and do your best to always align the two to make sure that you're using them instead of it using you. And I think that will bring us to a beautiful, beautiful place. As usual, I just want to say thank you to everybody that is in this trajectory, that's dedicated and committed beyond what your families say about you, because I know there's a lot of resistance there, from the rest of the world, until more people wake up to a lot of these fundamental truths around the world that are inevitable to become obvious and apparent to everybody. Continue doing what you're doing, stay dedicated, stay respectful even to the people that don't like you and think you're crazy, and just keep doing what you're doing. I want to say thank you to everybody that's on this journey, no matter what, part or piece you have. You're a part of the puzzle that makes this puzzle whole. And to everybody that is a center owner and decided to, open up a center on unified healing and the network as a whole, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you guys aren't only helping this initiative expand beyond the speed of light, literally at speeds that are unprecedented, but we are bringing this to right now tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and very soon to be millions and eventually billions of people around the world. We see it happening. We will continue this initiative. Nothing is going to stop what's coming over here. And let's just continue moving forward. So thank you to every single one of the center owners that stepped up, whether you're current or future or you're going to. I want to say thank you. And if you are in Europe, we do want to expand as fast as possible. In Europe, it already started, but feel free to reach out on unifiedhealing.com and we'll do our best to assist you to get a center up and running as soon as possible to continue the speed at which we're moving. And again, everybody can find a location on the Unified Healing Network at unifiedhealing.com. Go support them. It is that toroidal field that supports everything else along the process. So thank you. Yep. And thank you, Pam, for making this happen.
Yeah, beautiful. I love the conversation, Jason. It's just so empowering. And, in any decision, if you're struggling with, what to do, always come back to what would love do. What would love do in that moment? So thank you again, Jason. It's been fabulous, stimulating, fun to speak with you. And I hope it will help many, many people out there. So bless you. And I know you've got a busy day, so we'll end it here. And any information that you'll need to contact Jason and hear about the technology, I will put that underneath the video.
Awesome.
Bye for now, everyone. Love to you all.